Okay. I guess let's just show off our projects. Jade, we already saw yours, but just for the video's sake, um, could you still show it off today?
Yeah, sure. Let me
Okay.
just bring it up. I don't know if somebody else has theirs up first.
Yeah. Does anybody else have their project up right now? Luis, Catherine, Obeda? Anybody?
I have mine up.
Okay, cool.
I
Yeah.
just logged in, so.
Cool. Perfect. Go ahead and share.
So ours is kind of like you're going around the world. So we used React Canva,
Mm-hmm.
and we have like random adjectives for descriptors for the room descriptions, and then with just like a bunch of countries.
Sweet.
Yeah. So that's all it is really.
Okay.
And then displays the error message, and yeah.
Very nice. That is cool. Can you drop the link in the channel for your game so we can check it out?
Sure.
Please? Here, I'll put a thread on there. Luis, you want to go next? Let's see. There you go.
Maybe. I'm trying to find the link. We didn't pin it, so I have to like scroll.
Oh, okay. No problem.
I can go.
Okay, I'll bet you want to show yours real quick.
Yeah. Our login registration just crashed, but I can show you the board. I don't know what happened on Netlify. So this is what it looks like. My computer might run out of battery, but so it saves wherever you are last. And then I don't know why it's not picking up the rooms right now, but if you hit up, it doesn't let you go. And the yellow shows you where you are.
Oops, sorry, Catherine. I posted in the wrong thing here. My bad.
But I'm not sure what happened in that file link. It was working. Everything was good to go, including via names. And then someone just messaged our thing and said,
Update the repo?
I think someone pushed up their code because they added links and it took out a bunch of code.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the room. It works. I can run my localhost if you want and show that.
Yeah, let's see it on localhost because I want to.
Okay.
I want to look at it. There's Tony. Tony, we're just going through and sharing our projects. So far, Catherine has shared her project, and then Obeda's is pulling up his locally right now.
Sitting into the front end.
Obeda's got to travel today, so I want to get his done. It's got to fly. Is anybody here like flying? No? Okay.
Not really.
Just taking a minute.
No problem.
So we won't be able to show ours. Apparently somebody pushed something up after we presented, so we can't log in at all or register. I
can
can
you-
show you the login page.
Oh, can you show us locally?
No, because
You don't have a local database set up?
I do have a local database, but I was having trouble on my for the back end, so it's pulling directly from our back end,
Got you.
and I think that's where we're having issues.
From your production database?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you guys use a staging database at all or no?
We did have a development, but I'm not exactly sure what ended up happening to it. I think they ended up just using a development branch.
Right. Because every time Alex would like commit something, like he would go straight to master, and I get on my phone. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Like there was like no merges or no PR requests or anything like that, just straight up to master.
Yeah, I think that's what might have ended up happening this last couple of times.
So lesson learned. That's one of the benefits of having, like, it's more work obviously to have a staging database and a staging front end, but saves some debugging time. Oh, Beta, you still getting yours to work? Should we get Luis to?
Yeah, sorry.
Want his
It's loading right
stuff?
now on localhost. But Luis,
Okay.
go first.
Luis, go ahead and flaunt that. Mr. Guzman.
Fine. 1 second. Where's my share button?
Don't tell me somebody pushed some code up to yours either.
It
Don't
looks
do
like-
it.
It looks like somebody pushed some code out.
Don't do it.
Can't.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Screen. Share my screen.
All right.
All right. So it's going crazy slow.
Is this local or like production?
This one is production. My local one is actually a lot prettier.
Oh, well. Dang.
So all the room names are randomly generated. It took me a really long time to get this stupid text box working, and it's actually better on my local version, which I'll show you maybe in a minute. I'm working on, so this whole map here is actually supposed to be in a modal that gets triggered on a button underneath the text box.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were working on animation. So right now in production, this is actually kind of just like our ugly slap it together for MVP version.
Mm-hmm.
So all the red text rooms are where you currently are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find a room. Oh, there we go. The room with someone in it.
Oh.
So you can see when you're not alone. The API, even yeah, this is production. So yeah, it's all linked up to the live API and everything. Testing. We had some issues with the random room name generation. Some of them are pretty inappropriate, so we had to like keep creating.
Oh,
them.
really?
Yeah, some of them. There are a couple of like weird ones in here too, but nothing like too bad.
Whoa.
But yeah, okay, so this is it for this. And then this one's production. You can tell I'm working on the modal because I have Z index.
Background color brown.
I can't even, let me change it. There we go. And then once it re-renders, you should be able to, oh really? Wow. You sure about that, buddy? Well, okay, let's try negative. If I can get the modal out of the way, you'll be able to see what we're doing. But everything looks the same except for the big brown thing here. There we go. Okay. And it's not as clean. But this / map is supposed to be a commented outline. But it accepts keyboard inputs, so you can
cool.
move your little sprite around.
Oh.
And what happens is we drew up like actually my wife drew up a bunch of like.
Okay, wipes for the win. All right.
Yeah, she's pretty good with Illustrator, so she drew like these walls and the floor. And we have assets for each different permutation. So we have like lines set up to see like, I don't like that flash, but I think that'll change when I move the movement bar around.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the rooms check to see like, can you move east or west? And if you can, it will generate a doorway. If you can't, it won't let you. I changed the text scroll so that it hides the scroll bar, and then just pushes everything into the top rather than the bottom. And I can't move north right now because it's stuck underneath this viewport, but it does work. I think it's kind of cool. Like just the so it just checks it. What we do is we have that rooms endpoint that we're building the map with. So we check which room the current player is in, and then there's an attribute on that for north, south, east, west. That's just a Boolean. Is it true? Is there a room there? And then we have assets that line up with that. So it generates the background depending on whether or not there are actually rooms present. It's kind of fun.
Sweet.
This looks much smoother on Jason's machine. None of you know who that is, but there you are. Oh, cool. You can force two sprites if you press two directionals at the same time. That's new. Okay. But whatever. Yeah.
Cool.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to have it like cleaned up and like pushed up to master. It's going to be nice for my portfolio.
That'll be a nice portfolio piece. Really cool, man. Thanks for sharing. Oh, Beta! You got yours up yet?
Yeah, somewhat. The problem is that sorry, one sec. Yeah, it's up. Well, I think it's up. I'm waiting for it to reload.
Oh, you're doing the production, or are you doing local?
No, I did local. So the problem is that we all had separate code, and it was supposed to have merged yesterday. So Heroku should have had our branch called Heroku is our master branch. And the problem is when you pull down from that, it actually doesn't have all the code. And I think it's because of the new pushed up. So there's a lot of things missing. But nonetheless, I'm still trying to get it to show up right now on the local thing.
Don't tell me you pushed up some code last minute on your own local host, and now don't do it.
No, I didn't push up anything. I promise. I haven't touched any of the codes since last night. So it wasn't me. But I'm not gonna throw anyone under the bus. But you can always check the group chat on Slack.
No, I just meant like your branch. Like you pushed something up to yours. And
No. Okay. Well, I don't know why it's not working, but I mean the map is working and it's moving around on Netlify. So there's that, which I showed you already. But I'm not sure. I promised you it was working earlier today. We even had a login with like a dragon, and it was
login with a
black.
dragon. Oh,
yeah. A green dragon. I didn't design that, but yeah, there's like a green dragon. It had like the gaming thing, like gaming font size that was green.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe you can drop some,
I can show you
screenshots later or something.
Yeah. I can show you it now. I mean, the map is moving, like I showed you, but I'm not sure where everything else went. Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's all good, man. All right. So then Tani and Jade, maybe let Jade, can you guys show off your stuff, please?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, we have 400 errors. Like I've been trying to get through and get my back end, so maybe I can redirect, but I'm just still having issues.
All right, so 400 errors. We got it. All right, we better get started right now. Then let's go.
The good news is that if you were present this morning, you have seen our
I did see it, but I wanted us to present it again because I'm recording this Zoom right now. So in case somebody didn't make the lecture, like they could, and it would be immortalized on my YouTube channel forever, forever, forever. And so like if, like for instance, if Luis wanted to, you know, like copy the link with the timestamp and then put that on his portfolio, people could click it and they'd be taken straight to this YouTube video right at the point where he starts presenting his project. So I mean, it helps people.
I love the faces.
So there's no working local host. Go ahead.
I'm gonna keep talking. I'm gonna jump into it and see what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll hit you back up, and if it does, then maybe I'll record myself on a Zoom and send it to everyone when I walk through it. But I'm not sure. I really don't know why it's not working right now.
Okay. Gotcha. At least let's see, Jade or Chani, can you walk us through maybe like the code that you did for your project? And I don't know, I guess if you can't see the front end, which is like the beautiful part, we can at least see the good looking code, right?
Sure. Let me grab it real quick. Unless Tawny, you already have it up.
I have the current one. I have a flash here.
Okay, I can show the back end.
Okay.
Okay, so make sure I'm in the right file. Okay, so this is for actually generating the rooms. So we used a little bit of the sample generator for like the world building. But for the room itself, the algorithm that we ended up setting up, we decided that we were going to do the spiral. So we ended up wanting to make sure that if we're on a grid, no matter the size, whether it's for like 100 rooms or smaller, that our X and Y coordinates start in the middle of that. So that's the reason why we have the size X divided by 2 for X and Y. And then we, of course, start with room 0. And we're using this round to kind of get us around the spiral, because when we went and drew everything out, we realized that you go up 1 and then you start going over 2, and then it kind of increases each time you go in each direction. So that's what this is. It increases by 2 each time you complete, I guess, 1 circle or 1 rotation. So you just need to increase your steps by 2 each time. So that's what this is here. So for north, you increase by 1 on the y-axis. If you go, let's see, round equals steps -2. That's if you're going to be traveling west. And then we're creating the X coordinate or the Y coordinate and the X coordinate, and then we save it to make sure it gets saved to the room. And it's kind of the same thing for each of the different directions here. And then we get to the bottom, and then we just make sure we finish out each of the rounds and increase and iterate through them. And let's see, and then we have, we're saving ours to the database.
Mm-hmm.
We were thinking about just randomly generating it, but yeah, Alex's TL was like, well, why don't you just save it to the database so that it's always there? So we have, where is that? So we made sure that we put our X and Y coordinates, make sure I'm on the right one. Models, there you go. Sorry, I was in the wrong one. We just made sure that we could pass all of our X and Y coordinates. Do I not have that? There it is. So that we can actually access all of those on the front end. And then we're also using the north to south to, so that we can use it to show where players are and what our movements are as well. So that is the back end. Do you want to see the front end?
Very nice. Sure.
Okay. So front end, we had one of our team members was really good with the file structure. So for all the map stuff, like we decided to use, what is it, React-Viz, a visualization chart generator for ours. So we have the map view, and this is what we imported from there. And we are using, you have to use this flexible plot, XY plot. When you move, you're able to change the color of the dots that we have plotted. And we just figured out this morning that you can do color domain and range. And so when you move, those colors will change to the corresponding colors. And so it's a line mark series, and then you just tell what color for the line and then the actual dots.
Very cool.
And
What was the name of the API? Oh, React-Viz.
React-Viz. Because we were
Cool.
trying not to have to build everything from scratch. So we try to use a library that would give us that functionality already.
Right.
Sorry to interrupt. So we got it to work. They had it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sweet.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say your front end and your back end, but your front end is super nice. The presentation was really dope.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Jade, the prettiness.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Before my computer crashes. So this is what it looks like. And then if you sign up, you can sign up like this.
Look at the Asian dragon. Oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cool.
So yeah, I told you there's a dragon. But the problem is I think some of the code is still missing. So the rooms are not showing up. I don't know why. But
That looks fun.
But yeah, so well, there you go. So, well, it should be moving. I think my computer's about to die.
No.
Okay. Well, there you go. See? So now I'm making,
Yeah. Oh, okay. There goes.
and now I jumped up there.
Cool.
But yeah, so this is the project. I'm sorry, I'm gonna figure out why this is not working, and then I'll message you when it's updated. I put the link in what
A thread.
Catherine? Yeah, in the
Oh,
thread
okay.
of Catherine. Yeah, so I put the
Cool.
access so you can look at it,
Thank
and
you.
then if I figure out what's going on, I'll message you and let you know once this is updated. I think some of the code's missing.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
Is there else if I hop off right now? Just quickly. I'll be back on
Yeah.
in like 2 hours.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Have a safe flight.
All right, see you all. Also, I loved all your projects. They were really dope, and the presentations.
Is that like your many-headed, many-tailed dragon?
Yeah, our attempt at it, which didn't really work out. Making rooms is a lot harder than I thought it would be. But all right, see y'all.
See you, man.
See ya.
All right. So let's see. So everybody, actually, except Tani and Elise. Elise is still finishing up her stuff right now.
Bye, safe flight.
She should be done.
What about Tawny?
Do you want to just like go over what you did or for your project, or what what part you contributed to, or
I feel like I didn't really do that much.
so like what? Okay, well, what did you do? Let's see what you did do.
I did the initial Heroku deploy and then worked, so it was like that. And then I worked a little bit on the logic with Alex on day 2.
Okay. Can you show us like what you did to deploy, or show us like what logic you guys went over?
Well, the algorithm has changed since then, but we were just looking at the old, like the example algorithm,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to write one similar to that. But then Alex fleshed it out overnight, so it became better functioning and much more elaborate. So
Gotcha.
it's not really quite the same.
Okay.
And then I was sick the next day. And then the day after, it was kind of more like figuring out how to change like the size and color of the dots.
Got you. So you did do some like CSS and like some styling and stuff, right?
Really? I don't know. I feel like I didn't really do much this week.
She helped us debug a lot. You did
That's
help,
good.
Tanya.
Feel useless, Jade.
So I mean, like, everybody contributes a different amount. Everybody contributes differently. But as long as you feel like you've grown this week, you know, like you had to learn how to deploy, obviously. Like, can you walk us through that process? Because obviously you had to learn something new to do that. I mean, you've never deployed a Django project before this, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was too different.
That actually was hard. There's a lot of people who had difficulty actually deploying.
Not
to
that it was
Heroku.
hard. I didn't feel like it was that different than doing having deployed with Postgres in the past.
Okay. So can you just like walk us through it?
Yeah, let me find.
Okay. Oh, Elise is here. Elise, we're just going through everybody's projects. Or if you shared a project with somebody else, then you could just go over like how you contributed to the group, and then go over like your code that you did contribute to the group. Anything new you learned. Bryant, same thing for you. So everybody's gone except for, yeah, Bryant, Tiny, and Elise.
Okay.
I think Tiny's pulling up her stuff
Okay,
right now.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed the Slack about this meeting.
It's all good. We have all of the links posted in the channel there in a thread. And then we also, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to see all the projects on here if you watch the recording too.
Okay. Let's see. So really what we did was we added the end file,
Mhm.
and we put in like a secret key and debug. And we interestingly ran a lot of commands in our terminal. So we ran Heroku like directly from the terminal. So we did like a Heroku bash run was the command line, and it was different because you didn't have to keep saying Heroku do this, Heroku do that.
Mhm.
And then we just did your standard deploy. Wait, where is it? So actually, I'll pull up this one. So yeah, so we added the link to the repo, and then we had to do like our config vars. So you put in everything you needed, like everything that was in your M file, basically.
In the you're talking about in the Heroku dashboard, or where were you putting
in our
configuring variables?
in your config variables in settings? There's this option here.
Wait, I'm not seeing. Is it just me, or?
Oh, I think I switched screens. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, all right.
That would explain it. I was like, but it's right here.
I thought I was going crazy. I was like,
No,
I'm not seeing something. Okay, all right, yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah,
Heroku
so yeah, so you do like the config vars, and then you put in what's in your .env.
Sweet.
And then it's gonna look different because it's already deployed. But yeah, so you're connecting it. I connected it to GitHub, chose the project file, and I have it doing like automatic deploys. And it was only linked to the master branch. That way, you'd have to push it into master, obviously, before it will deploy.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And I was kind of like, I didn't feel like it was that different. But a lot of our errors were just figuring out like what was supposed to go in our .env and like making sure, because we had different things in there before and we changed it.
Okay.
And then for some
okay.
reason I had like the exact same code and it stopped working. And then, so we ended up linking it. Alex, the other guy who was doing backend, he pulled down the same branch and then did another deploy to Heroku, which we ended up using, but it was the same code and we couldn't figure out why that wasn't working, but it just stopped working for mine. So I'm not sure what happened, but
cool. What would you say you guys learned the most, like on your team, Jade and Tani, like with debugging, so that you like don't make the same mistakes again? Is there anything stood out to you?
For me, it was a lot of just remembering what you did before and to not make so many changes that you forget how to undo everything. There's a lot of times that we just go through and debug, and then we were trying to get back to where we had it working. And then we were just too confused because we did too many changes. So like I ended up having to write down notes of like what I changed, what files we touched and what we did, and make note of them and then check them off if I needed to get back to a certain point where it was working.
Okay.
And then I also learned from Alex. I mean, I used to use the console a lot, but I stopped using it to do debugging. So which actually helped me last night with some of the styling. He was trying to get through React Viz to find like attributes. And so he kind of did that while he was sharing a screen. And I was like, oh yeah, there is that way of like trying to figure out how to get to different things through the console before you change it. So that was helpful.
Yeah, he was like wasn't he using like DevTools in his Chrome browser or whatever?
Yeah.
It was really, really effective. I usually avoid it too, but now I think it's actually a useful tool.
What kind of Git flow did you guys use? Like, did you guys use like a feature branch type system where you you like basically created a branch off of like the development branch, and then each person worked on their own feature, and then you like merge back into development, and then once you're ready to do a release, you like merge from development into master?
Yeah, that's how we did it. And the naming convention was basically for the branch instead of our names. It was on the areas, except for Alex. I think he did one that was his name, but most of us named it like if we were setting up file structure, styling, an about page. That's how most of that was set up.
So I think like so initially it was Alex, me, and Jose on the back end. And so we did branches in our names just so that we were not confusing each other to push it, because we were pushing it all into the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ended up just kind of doing, instead we started just doing like pair programming where one of us was sharing and we were all kind of working on it. But that's actually how we did the deploy. So like for one of us was sharing and we were both like talking through it. But then they did the front end. They also did that front end branch too.
Okay. So my question, I guess, my question for the future is like, how did that bug get in that's causing the current like production branch not to work right now? Was that like something like everyone's sharing and then just pushing straight to master now, or like what?
I think Alex was working on something this morning because him and I were up really late last night, and then we decided, okay, we're going to stop messing with the code. And all I was doing, and I stayed up late, is fixed styling so that the functionality wouldn't be messed with. But I think he tweaked some things this morning. And then after he did the actual, he shared what we had, I think he tweaked it some more. So I think he pushed something else up that I'm not aware of.
So Alex and I got into a bad habit of merging instead of like waiting for reviewers. So
that makes a big difference.
Like, working together, and we were both looking at that point. We were both looking at it together, like, okay, well, we're just going to merge it. on our own while the other person's watching. And so I think after he realized he could do it, so maybe I was a bad influence. Is what I'm saying.
Well, you live and you learn. Yeah, that's something that when I was going through build weeks is like we were just self-governing. We would not let anybody merge anything unless there was at least 2 people that weren't working on what we were working on, look at it and okay it. And yeah, pretty vigilant about that. And that helped reduce the number of bugs we had, but good. Bryant, do you want to go next, or Elise? I think you're muted. Somebody.
Yeah, that was me. I can start talking. I'm trying to. So yeah, we kind of had like a divide and conquer strategy, which, like, looking back, was kind of a terrible idea.
Why'd you say that?
Well, because one person on the project, like, they had been studying over the break. They've been studying Django and like building sites and doing, tutorials a bunch. And they basically built or set up the structures of this, the structure of the server really quickly, and said, okay, I got this going, keep working on it, let's, kind of divide and conquer with the rest of the folks. And I didn't, no one, people disagreed. I did too, looking back. I should have spoken up, but it didn't really work out well as a strategy because like all the other members eventually had to go back and like learn the fundamentals of Django and like build go through the tutorial on their site and really learn how the system works. And I think it took it kind of we lost a lot of time and also just are depending on 1 or 2 people for a lot. So anyway, me and another person were, we took responsibility for the view layer in UI. So we used Django templates as for our views or for our UI, and not React or anything. And I learned a lot. Like I said, I had to go back and thoroughly learn like the Django API system. But I was able to build some pretty cool graphics. However, yesterday I ran into a problem, and where I can't start my server that has the graphics, and something happened. Like I was screen sharing with the other person working on the views, and then like so at least one person has seen them, and it looks pretty cool. I still need to integrate it with like some of the updated models, but then my laptop like restarted, and like it froze and restarted, and since then I think like a lot of the files, even though they were all saved in my editor, so a couple of them got changed, and so yeah, like I said, I can't run the branch I was working on I'm trying to debug it. So basically, up to this point, my graphics aren't included in our project, and it's kind of, it worked out fine. Like we have, basic UI, but yeah, I've been talking with some Python users on Slack, and it could be, like, it sounds like it's a problem with pipenv environment. So I uninstalled it, removed all my environments, and then I also had, sorry, I'm I'm just kind of ranting right now. I also
No, this is
had
real stuff, man. You're dealing with.
a virtual environment set up.
Did you try using your? Did you try going back to like the previous commit that worked before it crashed?
Yeah, I didn't have enough. Like, I didn't.
You didn't make frequent commits.
I didn't make a frequent commit, and it's weird in my my Git history on my locally, it's showing commits to important files that I hadn't pulled like the other people did, to set settings, so I don't know what happened basically, but yeah, it's weird. I have this this plugin for my editor that shows file history, and it has it's showing changes that other people did, and it got pulled into mine or merged, or I don't know what happened.
So before you make a commit, so I was just talking to Jade and Tiny about their Git flow system. So were you guys working off of a master and then a development, and then you had feature branches that were created off of the development branch, and then everybody basically used the development branch as a temporary master, and then basically you're pulling off of there, you're creating your own feature branch, you're working along, simultaneously somebody else making their own feature, and then everybody merges back into development. And then when you're ready to do a release, that's when you merge from development into master. Does that make sense?
That's a really good strategy, and I proposed that strategy, and I guess I didn't really follow up on it myself though as much as I should have, just because I've done a lot of Heroku setup, and it makes it really easy when you have a dev production feature branches. But anyway, I was working off a feature branch, but I I think that I hadn't. The problem may be I hadn't. I hadn't. So I cloned the feature branch, but I didn't check out my own version of that locally. I was working off the name of the remote feature branch. That's all I can think of. Also, I do so I've been building the UI. I've been using a lot of dev packages that have just shown to be very, very finicky, and so I'm using like just like SCS compilers.
Right. So how many? Wait. So how many branches
and
was your team working with? Like a master and then a
we
development,
have
or
that
just
set up, but we have a master, and then we don't have a dev. We have master and then feature.
So you
And
guys
like
were coming. You were pulling straight off of master and then merging right back into master.
so most recently I pulled off of a models branch where someone had updated the models, and then I was working off of that.
Wait. Okay. Wait. So wait. There's a master. Somebody created a models branch off of master, and then you pulled off of the model one to work on.
Yeah, because we hadn't merged it, so we were basically using models as our dev, with
Okay.
masters set up in Heroku. Only masters. There was no like dev Heroku.
Okay.
So the models branch is essentially dev. However, there was a couple other feature branches.
Yeah, it starts to get a little confusing when
Yeah.
like that model branch might have some changes that other feature branches don't have, and then you start merging back into master, and there's like merge conflicts, and then I've been through that. So yeah, I would say one thing you do is stay consistent with the flow, whatever the flow you guys decide, stay consistent with. But
Yeah. I mean, I think that was certainly a problem. Uh, I think where I'm still working through is like I'm using a SAS compiler,
mhm.
and and then using like a tag, and like for templates you have like a tag. It's like to like reference where your static as your like your CSS files. So
Right.
Heroku does that automatically. But I have to do it locally too, and that it's been really tricky to figure out what's going wrong, and how I broke the relationship between my templates, which use these tags or references to my CSS and images,
Mm-hmm.
and even JavaScript, how that the linking was broken. Also, like, and the Heroku has documentation for how
Hey Brian,
they.
I don't mean to cut you off, man, but
Yeah.
I just want to get some
And
time to Elise
sorry,
to
Elise.
speak a
As
little
I
bit.
say, Heroku's docs are have errors, and
I believe that.
yeah, I'm pissed. It's been a bad. All right, sorry, Elise. Blabbering, and sorry everyone else.
No, man, it's
Having to
okay.
listen to that.
You just want to get your frustrations out, man. It's all right. That's a good thing.
Right, it's all good. Okay, so I'm going to give you the breakdown of how we went about it. So my group decided to do mob programming. So from day one, we kind of just did driver navigator. And at first we started with the demo of whatever it was, like the sprint challenge that was in there. We started with that and then actually started to break down our project itself. Unfortunately, our project, the algorithm isn't fully functional, so our rooms don't connect, and the front end wasn't able to orchestrate the map because our back end wasn't working properly. But let me share my screen. Okay, let's see.
That's not where I'm at. So I had a lot of issues deploying. I constantly ran into the SSL mode for error, even after like doing a ton of research and group debugging sessions. It never really went through, but last night we got something to work on my end, and that's kind of what you see here. But as you can see, like none of the rooms are connecting because they're all starting from a 0 point. My job was to get it to deploy, but of course I ran into so many issues. They ended up getting it deployed. We like deployed 3 different people's projects just so we could all experience what it's like to use Django and deploy to Heroku, basically. What other questions were there? I kind of forgot.
Oh, just like how you contributed, like what you learned, because obviously like this whole project, this whole build week was about, you know, learning a new tech stack in a short amount of time under some deadlines, and then being able to collaborate well. I think a lot of people underestimate like how important that is, and how like employers are looking for people that could collaborate well and not just like get along with people, but understand a Git workflow, like very, very good with debugging, understanding like how to pull off of a development branch, like that kind of workflow. I think is super important to learn from these kind of build weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say that the group definitely worked well together. Like one guy, of course, disappeared after day 2, but you know, things happen for everybody. And for me personally, I feel like I learned a lot from my team. I like one guy in my group, he was extremely thorough about his debugging process. So we kind of, or I made sure to kind of like mirror him. He always kind of put me in check and was like, you know, take a step back and take it line by line. Because after running into the same error for hours on end, that was necessary. I think us as a team worked well doing it as a group. We also just worked off of one branch since we all continuously worked together the entire time, which is not something that I've done in labs or build week before, but it was definitely an interesting experience.
Wait, can you I guess dive a little bit deeper into that? You guys used one branch, meaning like one master branch, like
one master branch.
And then you guys had no development branch?
No development branch.
And so you just pulled off of master and everybody made their own feature branches off of master?
For the most part, yes. Yes, everyone made their own branch off of master.
Okay. Did you guys run into any like merge conflicts or anything?
No, because because we only went with one person's backend that worked fully functionally, that was the only person pushing, and so there weren't any errors, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there anything I left out?
No, I think that's it. I guess I didn't get to hear Catherine and Luis what they feel like they learned the most about from this build week.
Django.
All right. Catherine, you still there?
Yeah, I think Django's a new friend. I like back-end stuff, so yeah, I enjoyed working with Django and learning that. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. Guess that's it. It's time for lunch. It's time for lunch. Time for lunch. That's from Bubble Guppies. My daughter watches that.
What else
Okay, so then, what's that?
Do you have anything else today?
Yeah, I posted it in the channel there. So we have, so you guys will have to complete your Hacker Earth unit assessment. And then after you finish that, or you still have to complete your sprint retro forms for this week. So if you haven't done that, make sure to do that. And then if you haven't already finished your Hacker Earth unit assessment, do those. And then I'll just be working through each person's unit review assessment form. And then that's it.
Do we have one-on-ones or no?
From what my TL or my SL said, there's no one-on-ones. Just those forms. And then like, I guess this is supposed to be like our, kind of like our one-on-one, I guess.
I just want to say two things. One, Alex Gordon is friggin' awesome. And I've worked with him before. I loved it. I'm glad you guys got to experience him.
He really is.
The other is it's dumb that they're not automatically grading these tests.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, how hard is it to just give me my score?
Well, no. So the Hacker Earth unit assessments, those are graded automatically, and you get an email with your results. I'm going through a rubric. See if I can share it or not.
Oh, for
the whole unit assessment. So like your sprints 1, 2, and 3, all of those. That's what
I didn't get an email from Hacker Earth.
I got an email, but it didn't give me a grade. It was just like you submitted 11 questions.
Yeah. So one of the TLs took the Hacker Earth just to like try it out, and he had the same problem. But when he was talking to the head engineer that was working on that, there should be a PDF that is included or attached to that email, which has the grades in there. That's what this person
I didn't
said.
actually get an email saying it was submitted, even though it was submitted.
Me either.
And so I don't know.
Let me see.
Also, Tani, I was in a group with Ryan. He said he was in your TO group before.
Yeah, he was with me, Nikki, and some other people. Yeah, he's super nice guy.
Super nice.
Yeah, so he said that.
Oh yeah, I do see the PDF.
Yeah, he said he hadn't got an email like for a while, and then he finally got it, and then he thought that it would only show like how many questions he submitted, or answers he submitted, but then it actually in the PDF it shows like the answers, right?
It gives you all the answers and everything.
Okay. So you said some people said they did not get an email. You check your spam, or check any inbox.
The email about the account confirmation, but not the submission.
I got one of the easiest questions wrong.
The score, they said it's not like
it. No, it doesn't. It doesn't affect your like passing this unit or anything like that. They're just doing it as
the only one I
pilot.
got wrong. I still would have been fine, but it's like it's the true or false. Just
I mean, hey, 50-50 chance. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't get an email. It's not in my spam or anything. So
Yeah,
maybe
I didn't either.
Maybe Hacker Earth's hitting problems with so many
Could be
tests happening or something.
I just know that the engineer said you're supposed to get it pretty quickly. So that's why I would check your spam inboxes or any other inbox that you have, I guess.
I did already.
There's nothing. I'm gonna see. Is anybody else experiencing that as well? I'll just take a list of people's names and then I'll send it over to the SL and say these people submitted a unit assessment, but they didn't get an email back. Anybody else except for Tiny? Everybody else got an email?
I haven't taken it yet.
Or haven't taken it yet. Okay. All right. Well, if you do take it, or I guess after you do take it and you don't get an email right away, then let me know.
Can you add me to the list?
Add you to the list, at least?
Yes, please. Okay. I didn't get the email.
Got you. Okay. And I believe that is all for today. So if you're all finished with the other stuff, then you're good to go. Get some rest for Monday. We'll come back and we'll be going over like hash tables and blockchain. that stuff may want to look over the weekend if you get time, just to prime yourself. Can be confusing, blockchain stuff. So, but get some rest though, for sure. That is the most important thing. Anybody else got any stuff they want to hash out? No? Okay. All right. We'll see y'all later. I'll be posting this video shortly.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Guys, see ya.
Have a good weekend.
You too.